Good evening. Welcome to the Costa Mesa Planning Commission meeting for Monday, September 27th. I'll call the meeting to order and ask Commissioner Toller to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Commissioner Toller. Great night tonight. We are going to be welcoming two new planning commissioners to the dais, Johnny Rojas and Jimmy Vivar, and Ms. Green will be administering the oath of office to both gentlemen. Ms. Green. So, Commissioner Rojas and Commissioner Vivar, welcome to the Costa Mesa Planning Commission. When we get to Planning Commissioner comments, if you have any comments you wish to share with the public or the staff, we will do it at that time. But I again want to congratulate both of you on your appointments. Look forward to working with you. And with that, we will start with roll call. Julie, please.
Chair Jericho?
Here.
Vice Chair Zick?
Here.
Commissioner Rojas? Commissioner Toller?
Here.
Commissioner Russell is absent. Commissioner Vivar?
Here.
Commissioner Arith?
Present.
Please note that Commissioner Arith is present via Zoom. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Julie. Another piece of good news this evening for our planning staff. We are welcoming a new team member we're very excited about, and I will turn the microphone over to our Development Services Director, Ms. Leet, for the introduction.
Thank you, Chair and Planning Commissioners. It is my pleasure to introduce to you this evening Mr. Scott Drapkin, the city's new Assistant Director of Development Services. Scott started as a Costa Mesa employee last week. As you know, the Assistant Director position has been vacant for nearly a year, so I am beyond excited for both our staff and our community at large to bring Scott on board in this new role. Scott comes to Costa Mesa with a wealth of knowledge and experience. He worked for the City of Laguna Beach for nearly 25 years, where he managed the Planning Division and oversaw Planning Commission operations, and he also worked for several other public agencies before that. Scott has his bachelor's degree in urban planning as well as his master's degree in public administration, and he has lived in Orange County all his life, has two amazing adult children, and along with his wife Natasha is also a foster parent. So with that, I will end by saying I'm very proud to have Scott join our team. I think he'll be a great addition to an already strong staff team, and I look forward to moving our department and our city forward with his help. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Scott. And Scott, if you'd like to say a few words. Thank you.
Mr. Drapkin, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you very much, Chair. and Commission. I am so excited about being here. It's working with Jennifer and this amazing staff is just my first week. I don't know what I waited for to get here because this place is just too amazing. The community is dynamic and diverse, and it's just going to be such a great challenge. So one of my favorite aspects is working with the Commission, and it really is a great joy of mine. So I look really forward to working with all of you, and I have an open door policy with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome again. Okay, that brings us to public comments on tonight's agenda. This portion of the meeting is for members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items that are within our jurisdiction but are not on tonight's agenda. So again, public comment is for public comments to the Planning Commission, not on tonight's agenda but within our jurisdiction. Do we have any members of the public? I see Councilmember Gameros. Happy to have you, sir. Welcome. Oh, let me turn it on. It should be on.
Thank you very much. Lauren Gameros, Costa Mesa City Councilman, District 2. I just wanted to take a brief moment and thank our two new commissioners, Jimmy Vivar and Johnny Rojas. I know it's a very big responsibility, and I want to know that I do appreciate your guys' volunteerism for our community. It comes with a lot of great honor, and I'm very happy to see you up here. So I wanted to personally thank both of you, and I do appreciate all of your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Gameros. Is there anybody else in the chambers tonight wishing to speak during public comment? Okay, seeing none. Julie, do we have anyone on the telephone for public comment?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chairman. Phone number ending in 698. You may provide your public comment.
Phone number 698.
Chair Jericho, this is Stephen Chan. I've submitted a video comment. If you could direct them to play it.
Okay, can we direct the video, please?
Any entertainment provided shall not be audible beyond the area under control of the licensee. So that essentially means if I can hear any entertainment emanating from your facility outside of your footprint, that's a violation of the CUP.
Costa Mesa residents, stop Strut School Night Base. It runs until 2 a.m. 5 hours later, Smart and Final abuse commences. Check this guy out, grabbing one pallet off of a stack to slam, then moves on. It's 6:59 a.m. Sundays are grueling after 3 days of deep sleep deprivation. Better get that homework done. Strut Bar and Smart and Final in concert every Sunday afternoon. Visit anywhere after a month of 4 days a week. It's illegal, sleep-depriving, low-frequency base that our soup kitchen neighborhood kids are having school attendance trouble. Strut Bar and Smart and Final are operating normally. As a public nuisance, please abate them using the California Unlawful Liquor Sales Abatement Law. This past spring, when Strut was COVID closed, the city positioned a so-called expert behind the bar to measure sound. Practice area will allow Costa Mesa neighborhoods to organically develop. Stop the retrofit of high-density projects in your lower-density neighborhoods. Build more supply where it's needed in the affordable home category. Start figuring out who gets affordable home on the Costa Mesa golf course. Stop the smart final backup people on the floor. Stop the joyriding. Costa Mesa residents, stop Strut School Night Base. please abate these nuisances in the kitchen neighborhood.
Okay, thank you very much for your comment and for the video. Julie, are there any other commenters?
No, there is not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll go ahead then and close public comment for this evening. And we'll move to Commissioner comments. And we'll begin with Commissioner Ramos. If you'd like to offer any comments or... Yes.
No, I don't have much time other than I'm glad to be here and joining you guys and look forward to being part of this committee.
Okay, great, thank you. Commissioner Vivar, if you have any comments this evening? Straight up, you got it.
All right. Good evening. Good evening, Commission and Chamber. Those present and those listening. I just like to say I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that the city has entrusted me with serving as a planning commissioner. I hope to faithfully carry out my duties for the people of Costa Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Aaron, if you have any comments this evening?
Thank you, Chair DeArco. I have very few. I just wanted to thank Commissioners Rojas and Vivar for serving on this commission. It's going to be a real pleasure to serve with you. I enjoyed speaking with both of you this weekend and look forward to working with you from here on out. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Toller.
Thank you. Also, welcome Commissioner Rojas Vivar to the commission. Also, I think others might mention this. Staff could also correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have two important meetings coming up. One is tomorrow night. It's the citywide parking study at 6 p.m. It's on Zoom. And I found that information on Instagram. Anybody listening, I know you can find it there. There's probably other places that staff can help us with in a bit. Also, Wednesday, October 6th at 6 p.m. also on Zoom. Another meeting about the pedestrian master plan. That will be all. Thank you.
Thank you for those calendar items, Commissioner Toller. Those are both important meetings. Vice Chair Zick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to welcome Commissioner Rojas and Commissioner Vivar to the Planning Commission. I'm excited to have the additional diversity of backgrounds and thought as we contemplate and consider the various applications come before us. And I also like to extend another welcome to Assistant Director Scott Draper. Looking forward to working with you as well, sir. As most people in the public are hopefully aware, the city is currently in the middle of working on a housing element update. Probably one of the most consequential aspects of the general plan and Costa Mesa's future is currently being considered. There are two aspects of that I want to comment on tonight. The two big components of the housing element that receive the most attention at a kind of a summary level is quantity of housing and affordability of housing. And when it comes to quantity of housing, in our joint session, I want to clarify, in case there was any misunderstanding, one of my areas of interest with regard to that. And I think the phraseology I used was to nuance towards ownership, the new housing stock that we create. And whether you call it nuancing to ownership or bias for ownership or an emphasis on ownership. I kind of mean the same thing. There was a comment after I had encouraged that suggested maybe that's a distraction. It's not a distraction at all. In fact, I'm very passionate about that being a priority of ours. As I've said many times, our city is upside down relative to cities around us, Orange County at large. with regard to the ratio of ownership to rental. And even if 100% of our allocation is built as ownership property, if 100% of the allocation is built as ownership property, we would still be below the average in Orange County of ownership to rental ratio. So when I say nuanced ownership, that probably is an understatement of my interest there. So hopefully that's fairly well understood. Another thing relative to affordability. This is a financial class. This isn't about the class on wealth accumulation or wealth management, but it's fairly widely understood that one of the most important financial investments an individual can make is in home ownership, which is another reason why I'm so interested in making sure we create ownership opportunities, not rental opportunities. Rent is a people want to rent, that's fine. If they have no alternative to rent, understand that too. But if people want to own and they have difficulty doing it, that's why we need more ownership opportunities. I don't know if people noticed an article in the LA Times yesterday, very much caught my attention. Santa Ana moving forward on rent control. It would have implemented rent control immediately, be effective already today, had they gotten a supermajority of the council to vote for it. They didn't get that. They got a simple majority. And as such, the ordinances that were in front of them will be coming back for a second reading, like occurs in our city and other cities. This rent control is most likely going to happen in Santa Ana, and if it's an area of interest of yours, I suggest you follow what is happening in Santa Ana. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair Zick. I want to welcome again Commissioner Ramos and Commissioner Vivar, and just as kind of a side note, I don't think the Vice Chair will mind if I share this little anecdote that we were tossing back and forth at a meeting last week. We sit with Ms. Lee and we go over the agenda for the previous for the next meeting. And we were talking about, Commissioner Vice Chair Zick has been active in the community for Jesus, as long as I can remember. As have I. I started out on commission in 2003 in Costa Mesa, and I was relaying to him about, how long are you doing this kind of stuff? I've said up here many times my last term, my last go around on the commission. And I mentioned to Vice Chair Zick how great it is to see the next generation of leaders coming up in the community and serving on commissions. Commissioner Vivar, Commissioner Ramos, Commissioner Toller. There's kind of a new, I've mentioned before watching families walk in front of our house. So I'm just very glad that we have a pretty young city council. We have youth being infused in the planning commission that brings perspective on a whole sorts of issues related from housing to transportation to other kinds of land use issues that we'll be dealing with as a planning commission. So I'm very happy to see both of you on the commission, and I'm looking forward to your perspectives. Other than that, Mr. Drapkin, I'm looking forward to working with you. And we'll move on from there to our regular agenda. We have no consent calendar item this evening, so that will move us to public hearings. And if Julie, if you'll please read public hearing item number one, title into the record.
Public hearing item number one. Planning application 2021-09 for conditional use permit to allow alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption after 11 p.m. for the expansion of an existing restaurant, Oak and Coal, and zoning application 21-36 to modify the hours of operation approved under planning application P16-49 and allow a deviation from parking requirements based on unusual operating characteristics for a restaurant located at 333 East 17th Street, Suites 2 and 3. Please note that no public comments have been received on this item. This is a call for any ex parte communication.
Commissioners, are there any ex parte communications to report?
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chair Zick.
I received a telephone call from a member of the public expressing some concerns about aspect of process related to this application and other applications in general. So I just want to mention that I had someone reach out. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Arith, did you have any ex parte communications report?
No, sir, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. None from Commissioner Ramos or Commissioner Toller? Commissioner Vivar? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, with that, and I have none to report. With that, I will turn the floor over to Ms. Walsh for the staff report. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair and Commission. Caitlin Walsh, Associate Planner with the Development Services Department. The item before you, Planning Application 21-09, is a request for a conditional use permit to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption after 11 p.m. within 200 feet of residential use on property, as well as zoning application 21-36, which is a request for a minor conditional use permit to modify previously approved hours of operation for open cold restaurant and to allow a deviation from parking requirements based on unusual operating characteristics for a proposed restaurant expansion located at 333 East 17th Street, Suites 2 and 3. The existing restaurant is located in a 1,200 square foot tenant space in the commercial center along East 17th Street, near the intersection of 17th Street and Raymond Avenue. The site is developed with one multi-tenant building and one single-tenant building totaling 34,216 square feet. The property is zoned C1, local business, and has a general plan land use designation of general commercial. Surrounding businesses are also zoned C1 with the exception of the properties located across the public alley to the south, which are zoned R2MD, multiple family residential medium density. The Planning Commission approved the existing restaurant Open on August 22nd, 2016, permitting the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption after 11 p.m. for a restaurant located within 200 feet of the residential zone, with hours of operation from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., Sunday through Thursday, and 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. on Friday and Saturday. Subsequently, on June 21st, 2018, the zoning administrator approved an ABC alcohol beverage control license upgrade from a Type 41 on sale beer and wine to a Type 47 on sale general, which allows liquor. The proposed project involves the expansion of the existing Oak restaurant into an adjacent commercial tenant space. The existing restaurant occupies a 1,200 square foot tenant space in Suite 2, and the applicant is proposing to expand into the adjacent 960 square foot tenant space occupied by a water shop for a total of 2,160 square feet. The proposed hours of operation of the restaurant are 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. 7 days per week, and no live entertainment or change the existing Type 47 EC license is proposed. A conditional use permit is required when a restaurant that is located within 200 feet of residentially zoned property proposes to serve alcohol just after 11 p.m. In this case, the distance from the rear property line of the subject property to the closest residential parcel is approximately 20 feet. However, the restaurant is located along the east wing of the building, facing west towards the parking lot, and is located approximately 150 feet away from the nearest residential use. Therefore, in staff's opinion, the proposed restaurant, including the expansion, is buffered from the residential use by the existing building within the retail center. With regard to parking, the site contains 138 parking spaces. The zoning code requires 10 spaces per 1,000 square feet for food and beverage establishments with more than 300 feet of public area. Therefore, a minor conditional use permit is required for the restaurant expansion to deviate from shared parking requirements due to unusual operating characteristics, in this case, offset hours of operation from other businesses on site. Specifically, uses within the retail center include 3 restaurants, Pancakes R Us, Tabu Shabu, and Tres Muchachos. hair salons, a laundromat, a chiropractic office, a fitness studio, and other general retail uses. And the majority of these uses conduct business during the day and close by the early evening hours, while Oaken Restaurant again would open at 6 p.m. The table on this slide shows the peak parking demand for both weekday and weekend time periods for all existing and proposed uses within the retail center operating after 6 p.m. The peak parking demand during evening weekday hours would occur at 7 p.m. with a total parking demand of 119 spaces, and this would result in a surplus of 19 parking spaces. And then during the highest week and peak demand period, there would be a surplus of 40 parking spaces at 8 p.m. Therefore, sufficient parking exists to accommodate the additional parking demand associated with the expansion of the restaurant during their proposed hours of operation. As it relates to noise standards, the existing restaurant is located within a commercial center with similar uses, including three other restaurants, and is oriented towards other commercial uses and away from the residential uses of the south. In staff's opinion, noise impacts are not anticipated because the restaurant is located approximately 150 feet away from the apartment buildings to the south, and no permanent outdoor patio area or live entertainment is proposed. In addition, staff has contacted the police department regarding the proposed restaurant expansion, and they have no concerns related to the proposed use. So as such, staff reports the request for modified hours of operation until 1 a.m. Furthermore, to ensure that the proposed use operates with minimal impacts to the adjacent properties, staff has included conditions of approval related to hours of operation, operational measures, alcohol sales, and parking. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution to find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, per CEQA Guidelines Section 15301, existing facilities, and a Planning Application 21-09 and Zoning Application 21-36, subject to conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation. I'm also available for questions. In addition, the applicant is here, should you have any questions for him.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Walsh, for your report. Commissioners, any questions to staff on this application? Okay. Commissioner Vivar. There you go.
Right. I was reading the report. I was handed the agenda and the binder, and I don't know if this might have just been a typo, but I figured I'd ask about it. Mentioned that the restaurant would be expanding into because it's currently on in Unit 2 and will be expanding to Unit 3, and it mentioned that it'll be expanding to a tenant space of a previously existing shop, and so I was wondering why it's mentioned that it was previously existing, or because it's still there. I went by the site and saw it still there, and so I was just wondering if this was a typo. And also the report tonight did mention that it is still there, so I was just wondering if it's outgoing or what the kind of discrepancy might have been in the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vivar. Yes, that is a clerical error on my part. The watch repair store is currently occupying Suite 3. So with the proposed expansion, however, they would vacate once the restaurant, if approved.
Okay. Vice Chair Zick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ms. Walsh, for your report. I watched the previous Planning Commission meeting from 2016, and I think your report clarifies an aspect of confusion I had from watching that meeting relative to the conditions that trigger a conditional use permit. In the previous Planning Commission meeting, there was an implication, maybe it was even more overt than that, that either the serving of alcohol after 11 p.m. required a conditional use permit, or having a restaurant within 200 feet of residential required a conditional use permit, either of those conditions would trigger the need for conditional use permit. Your report indicates that it's the fact that a restaurant within 200 feet of a resident and serves alcohol after 11 p.m. is what triggers the conditional use permit. So could you, just for my edification, help me understand that?
Absolutely. So the code for restaurants located within 200 feet of a residential zone, in this zoning district C1, which is local business, it is permitted as long as it meets the development standards for establishments within 200 feet of residentially zoned property. So really the triggering factor is the sale of alcoholic beverages after 11 p.m.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that clarification. And then with regard to parking, I took a look at the spreadsheet attachment number 5, and I had to do some calculations on my own since what I was looking for wasn't on that sheet. And the calculation I did, and on that sheet I'm looking at the little small upper right-hand area where you list the various businesses, the square footage of the businesses, the parking ratio required per 1,000 square feet. And what I did is, based on those square footages, I extended out the parking requirement based on those ratios and totaled them up. And when I did that, I came to a grand total parking required for that site of 200. And then I added another column that matched the indication of the hours of operation of the last column on your spreadsheet, and looked at the total number of parking spaces required after 6 p.m. So any business that operated after 6 p.m., I carried over those parking, and I came up with a total of 145. And only 138 are provided. That's a close number. My question is, in your presentation, when you showed a surplus, was that based on calculation or was that based on visual observation that there was vacancies in the lot?
Thank you for your comment. That was based on a calculation. So we actually have attachment 5, the shared parking demand for mixed use development, mixed uses, accounts for different peak hours of operation for different uses. So this was actually a city council approved shared parking calculation that staff uses when we have a mix of uses on site. So it's not a straight calculation of 10 per thousand or 4 per thousand for retail. You actually enter, basically what this spreadsheet does is enter in the square footages of the uses in the appropriate section of those uses operating after 6 p.m.
Okay, I think I understand your answer there, and appreciate that. And thank you also for clarifying the difference between the type 1 and type 41. I wasn't quite clear on that. I am now from your presentation. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Toller, and then we'll check in with Commissioner Arith. Go ahead, Commissioner Toller.
Thank you, Chair. I guess the danger we're trying to avoid here is if one tenant sucks up all the parking and to the detriment of another tenant's business. If that becomes the case at some future point, this is kind of hypothetical, whose job is it to figure out who's the allocation of the available spots on site? Does the city get involved, or is that just the property owner dealing with his own tenants and informal agreements with them? I guess what point does the city need to get involved in that?
Yes, you're correct. So it would be the property owner, and the management typically handles the leases. So if they're aware of a parking problem, they typically will make their prospective tenants aware of that. But we also have conditions of approval that if parking becomes a problem in the future, there's potential solutions to that as well, such as valet or off-site parking or changing the hours of operation.
Okay. Second question, if obviously this is cool local restaurant use, everybody is happy to see come in. I hate to think at one point we're going to have to shut the door and say no more, there's not enough parking for everybody. Is there a point at which that would happen, or do we have a whole bunch of tricks up our sleeve? Like you said, valet parking, a whole bunch of ways to work with the applicant to try to get businesses to work, or do we have a hard line?
We really evaluate parking on a project-by-project basis, so I guess it would just depend on the different tenant mix. We see a lot of change with the tenant mix just from like a year period or 2-year period, so it's constantly changing. But to answer your question, I think that each time that we get a new restaurant, we would just run a shared parking calculation again based on when they're operating. Perhaps they have offset hours of operation, and we could justify that through an MCUP. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Arith, do you have any questions of staff?
Thank you, Chair DeArcol. I have no questions at this time.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing and ask the applicant to come forward. Either podium is fine. And I have a couple of administrative questions I have to ask you, and then we'll let you present your remarks. Have you read the staff report?
I have.
Have you read the conditions of approval, and do you agree with them?
Yes, I do.
Okay, the floor is yours, sir.
All right. Well, I just want to thank the commission for taking the time to review this project, and thank Assistant Planner Caitlin Walsh for her hard work in getting the presentation ready for you guys. Our restaurant's been there for 5 years. We've been a pretty integral part of the community. Do a lot of community events. Newport Heights Gala this year was catered by us. And, I think usually when you hear alcohol within a planning decision, you immediately think bar or nuisance. But our primary purpose is to be an eclectic mix to the already awesome culinary variety that's in Costa Mesa. We've been there for 5 years. We're looking at expanding just a little bit. Obviously, COVID measures, the COVID repercussions are still kind of existing, so we're kind of doubling down and trying to come out of it pretty well. In regards to Commissioner Toller's comment regarding the parking and the potential for a nuisance, we were kind of able to evaluate that as we received a temporary CUP from the city for COVID restrictions, and we essentially added the same number of seats for our temporary patio while eliminating 2 parking spaces. And we haven't had an issue for the last, so many months that we've had that. So, but so I'm very excited to move forward with the project if we have your permission, and thank you for the time to review it.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions of the applicant? I see Vice Chair Zick, and then we'll go down the line.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2 questions. First of all, I'm very excited about your restaurant plan. So I want
thank you.
Kind of put you at ease with my overall feeling about that. In the conditions of approval, condition of approval number 8 talks about a quarterly gross sales of alcoholic beverages shall not exceed the gross sales of food and meals during the same period. And this is all presumably auditable. You're required to keep records. How close have you ever come to that?
Not even remotely close. And actually, a condition of our Type 47 license requires that we sell no more than 40% of our gross receipts in alcohol. Now, the ABC has never actually audited us on it, but it's more by intention of purpose in your restaurant. So if you come into the restaurant and all you see is a drink menu and peanuts and pizza, then there might be the logic that these guys are operating a bar more than a restaurant. But in our specific case, we are very food-centric. I think the closest we've ever got was close to a 20% alcohol sales percentage for any given quarter. So we haven't come anywhere close to that 50-50 line.
Okay, and then my other question, so I got a call from a member of the public, not affiliated with your restaurant. And he had concerns about the process and fees. And sometimes when people call and complain about what's happening to somebody else, they're just kind of projecting, and it may not be any issue that you have. It may be issues they have in a completely different aspect of their life and involvement. So I just wanted to ask you about your general experience with process and fees to get to where you are here. Do you have any recommendations, any concerns, any issues, challenges that you've faced?
I would say, I've been through a few planning decisions with the city. I do really thoroughly enjoy doing business in the city. I've opened up a few restaurants here. And I would say on this go-around, I felt the fees have obviously increased over the years. I know for this specific project, with the major CUP and the minor CUP, that the fees started getting high, for a small business expanding only 966 square feet. It's a big chunk to handle. And then, also one of the conditions is a transportation fee that is going to be added onto our building plans, which is a condition of approval for I believe a traffic impact fee. And the estimated traffic impact fee came out at $17,000. In addition to our planning, fees that are now totaling over about $10,000, and then whatever arises out of building planning. So, I mean, if you're talking about from purely a small business perspective, right off the bat, I'm at $17,000 right now. After building, I'll probably be close to the $30,000 range, plus the cost of, obviously, construction being as high as it is right now. It's a big challenge for a small business to expand with that kind of barrier to entry. But, overall, the city of Costa Mesa has always been very business friendly. So I guess I would just say that with the fees, as long as, it is checked and always monitored, and small businesses do have an opportunity to, come to the city and do business without incurring massive amounts of fees as a barrier to entry. But, all in all, I'm not upset by it. I understand that things change, and, there are fees that must be incurred for progress.
Thank you for your candid and constructive response. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Arith, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Thank you, Chair. I have no comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. For your comments, you can have a seat, and I will open the public comment portion of the public hearing. Any member in the chamber who wishes to speak to this item, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, Ms. Colgan, do we have anyone on the phone that wishes to speak to this item?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing. And I have a few questions, and then we'll move up and down the line to the commissioners to see what they want to comments they want to make. So, Ms. Lee or Mr. Yang, on our traffic impact fees, council established a fee of $235 per average daily trip, I think last year in 2020. I want to make sure we understand how we're calculating those. One, in this particular instance, is the fee calculated, is the average daily trip, well, let me back up. Does the applicant typically provide us in an application process like this some kind of traffic impact analysis that gives us an indication of what ADT is going to be, not just for the expansion, but for the whole of the 2,166 square feet of the restaurant?
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that the applicant is required to provide some type of traffic analysis to justify that.
Okay. So do we, so if I do the math, and I looked at because I got the same email, and it's like, okay. So everybody pays a traffic impact fee. In this case, it's $17,100 and some odd dollars and some change. And based on my calculation on the average daily trip, a fee of $235 that we're calculating about 72 average daily trips to this expanded restaurant. Is that 72 average daily trips attributable just to the expansion of the whole of the 2,166 square foot restaurant?
I can attempt to answer that question. So working with the transportation department, they do apply a credit for the existing retail use, and then they charge the rate, the ITE rate for a new restaurant. Now, I don't have the specifics if they just use the 966. I would assume so, since that's since all of the previous traffic impact fees have been paid for the existing tenant
Okay, so
space.
it's just for the 966, and the number we're using to calculate the traffic impact fee is an ITE number. It's not an actual traffic count study that was done by a traffic engineer that either they hired or we.
Correct.
Okay, so it's based strictly an ITE manual number.
Correct. There was no trip generation letter. It was just straight ITE.
Okay. So, I really just didn't want to get into this. Procedurally, if an applicant brought a traffic count analysis in from a certified traffic engineer, presented to staff with their application, how would we evaluate that vis-a-vis the ITE number and whether or not the staff would find that traffic analysis brought in by the applicant acceptable or an acceptable replacement to the ITE number?
Chair, if I may, I can answer that. The ITE rate is used as the generally accepted traffic engineering rate that's applied across the board. However, it is part of our process that the applicant can opt to essentially do an on-site count and generate a trip generation letter that's a little bit more of a site-specific analysis if they disagree that the ITE rate is reflective of site conditions. So that is an option, and other applicants have availed themselves of that process, and that would apply here as well.
Okay. So, and just from my experience, you know, basic traffic counting letters that we get from traffic engineers can run about 15 grand. So I don't know that it would necessarily have afforded the applicant in this particular case any kind of break on the traffic impact fees. But the traffic impact fee is $235 per average daily trip. Everybody pays it who's coming forward with a project. They could be steep, I don't know. But you know, it's the cost of doing business in every jurisdiction. Every jurisdiction I work in has traffic impact fees. So you pay them or you don't pay them, but you don't have a project either. So I'm sympathetic to what you're going through. It's an expensive process to expand a business, and you would find that in any city. I'm perfectly excited that you have this project expansion coming forward. The process sometimes is not clean and it's not timely, but it is the process, and our team internally in the planning department is doing the best they can do with the resources they have. And I will defend them to near death over that versus squeaky external criticisms about whether or not somebody thinks they're getting a fair shake or they're getting a timely process. The process is what the process is, and I think our team's doing the best they can, and they're always trying to improve. All good teams always try to improve. So anyway, I've probably vomited and said enough on that. Any other comments by the commission on the application? I'll close the public hearing. Commissioner Vivar? There you go.
I was just wondering why the decision was made to expand hours of operation for all 7 days of the week. And I don't know if what sort of the process would have been if the applicant had instead requested for expansion of hours for certain days of the week and maybe excluded the days of the week that were probably less volume in terms of sales. So I was just curious about that.
Okay, I don't know, Ms. Walsh, if you feel like you can handle that.
Yeah, I can answer that question. So the process would be the same if the area of the intended expansion would sell alcohol after 11 p.m., regardless of the days that they would do that throughout the week.
All right. Thank you. I think that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Vivar. Anybody else? Okay, close the public hearing. I'm going to make a motion to find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, per CEQA guidelines section 15301, class 1 existing facilities, and approved planning application 21-09 subject to conditions of approval. Is there a second?
I'll second. Harith?
All right, Commissioner Harris seconds the motion. Any comment on the motion?
Chair, if I may, I just wanted to clarify that the recommendation includes PA 21-09 as well as ZA 21-36.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is that okay with the seconder of the motion?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments on the motion? Commissioner Toller.
Yeah, I just want to say that this is such a common thing to come before a planning commission. There's not enough parking, but we want to open a business. And I'm so glad that our code and our staff has figured out a way to make it work for everybody instead of just closing the door, because that's the easy way. And a lot of cities do it like that. They just say no to the applicants that can't provide the parking because there's not enough space. But I love that we did that. I've eaten there with my family a few times. We live right by there. We go to Pancakes R Us all the time. And we love to see new businesses come in. So thank you to staff for figuring out how to make this happen well. That's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Vivar.
Is this on?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think this is great, and I think I'm excited to see this project happen. And I know that earlier tonight it was mentioned that in case that there were to be more traffic than anticipated, that other measures would be considered for traffic mitigation. I'm a transportation engineer, so I think this is pretty great going forward. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir, very much. Commissioner Arith, any comments on the motion?
Thank you, Chair. I'll echo my fellow commissioners in saying that this is an exciting project, and it all seems to be buttoned up nicely. Just ready to get to the vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the concerns about parking. Kind of staggered uses like this are pretty common if you have a majority of the other tenants closing at the time that the applicant's business opens. And the city does have quite a few remedies should the parking get out of hand, including, I think Commissioner Toller mentioned valet. There could be, or come back and visit the CUP and have a requirement of conditions where the applicant has to enter into some kind of shared parking agreement with another property owner. There's also the ability that, we could come back and require, and I'm seeing this more and more now in jurisdictions where centers that were designed a long, long time ago and parking standards have shifted and modes of transportation are shifting, where rather than rely solely on code, applicants can provide a parking utilization study, or the city can ask the applicant to conduct one if it seems like parking is out of hand. And so those utilization studies, which is basically reality versus code, you can get an idea of how parking's going. So I'm not concerned about this, that if from a parking perspective, if it ever got out of hand, we could study it ourselves, or we could have the applicant do it to justify remaining under the current conditions, or we can have them do something else. So I'm looking forward to the expanded business, and hopefully they succeed with that expansion. So with that, I'll ask Ms. Colgan to call the voice vote, please.
Chair Jericho?
Aye.
Vice Chair Zick?
Aye.
Commissioner Rojas?
Aye.
Commissioner Toller?
Aye.
Commissioner Vivar?
Aye.
And Commissioner Arith?
Aye.
That motion carried 6-0 with Commissioner Russell absent.
Okay, thank you very much. That decision is final within 7 days unless appealed to the City Council. Good luck, gentlemen. Thank you for investing in Costa Mesa. We look forward to your continued success. That we have no old business tonight, nor new business, so that brings us to departmental reports. Public Services Report, Mr. Yang.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also honorable members of the Planning Commission. I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Toller has mentioned about 2 items of the citywide parking study, also the pedestrian master plan, and give a little bit of details. For example, the citywide parking study is underway to identify opportunities to improve the overall parking experience for residents and guests, and public services has held 3 public outreach meetings via Zoom in March and June, and during which several members of the community provided feedback on the parking in the city of Costa Mesa. The community is invited to attend a virtual community meeting for the citywide parking study scheduled for September 28th at 6 p.m. Meeting will include an overview of the draft recommendation options and a discussion about opportunities to improve residential parking. We all wish that there would be a lot of participants and to provide us feedback and sharing their parking experiences. So therefore, just to repeat again, it's on Tuesday, September 28th at 6 p.m. and it'll be conducted via Zoom. And to find out more information, you could go on costamesaca.gov/parking. The second item is that the City of Costa Mesa will host a second virtual community meeting for the pedestrian master plan on October 6th. The development of the pedestrian master plan for Costa Mesa is essential for our community. The plan will propose pedestrian infrastructure improvements and connecting communities to schools, parks, businesses, and other destinations in the city. The development of the pedestrian master plan, 6 walk audits were conducted in Costa Mesa in March and April with the Bikeway and Walkability Committee members, city staff, project consultant team members, and members of the community. And also, an online survey was conducted in April and May for additional input with respect to the pedestrian master plan. The first community meeting was done virtually on July 27th. We had a great outing in terms of getting information from the community and great engagement in that event. Therefore, the community is invited to attend the second virtual community meeting to discuss proposed recommendations and solutions to improve walkability in the city on October 6th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Everyone is invited to share his or her input to make this plan a resounding success. So therefore, the virtual community meeting is on October 6th, starting at 6 p.m., and it's via Zoom, and more information can be found on the city's website. So thank you, and I'll defer back to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Yang. Development Services report, Ms. Lee.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. I have no specific reports this evening, but I do want to note that the City Attorney's Office and I intend to give a report next meeting regarding Senate Bill 9 and 10, which was mentioned by the Chair last meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. City Attorney report, Mr. Preziosi.
Thank you. No report tonight, Chair, but I'd like to welcome our new commissioners, Vivar and Rojas, to the commission.
Okay, sir, thank you very much. And yes, again, Commissioner Vivar and Commissioner Rojas, welcome. Commissioner Rojas, I believe I've mispronounced your name a couple of times tonight. I apologize for that.
No worries. I was actually mentioning it, but we're good.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll get there. Okay, but welcome anyway, sir. With that, we'll stand in adjournment to our regularly scheduled meeting of October 11th, 2021. Good night.